Welcome along to MOTH News Live. My name is Keith Walsh. Coming up on the show today, we'll begin with the ongoing inquest into the death of Noah Donohoe, what the latest evidence tells us about the early stages of police investigation. We then turn to the latest developments around Enterprise Ireland-backed investments, the startup Jobio, and the wider network of investors connected to Elkstone, and why transparency in this particular matter, when public money is involved, why it's important. And later we'll look at the growing attention, and it's all connected, the growing attention around the Epstein document releases and what they reveal about how business networks influence and accountability operate at the highest levels here in Ireland. It is MOTH News Live. You're very welcome. Welcome. We lost Oscar. Al, how's it going? Oscar, how's it going? How are we today?
All good.
Good.
Good morning.
Yeah, go on, Al.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, everybody. It is. I mean, it's a happy Friday. It's a crazy Friday. There's some crazy. We got a lot to get to today. It's mostly Epstein Ireland related. So let's crack on. First of all, I want to talk about Noah Donohoe. We don't want to really. There's a lot to talk about with the Epstein stuff, but we don't want to sort of not bring you an update on what's going on with Noah. Such a tragic story, and family and all that, out of respect to them. So this week, the key issues, let's just do it that way. They were talking about the 7-hour delay. So this is the first key issue. The location data from Noah's phone was not passed to search teams for around 7 hours. So that was a key issue in the inquest this week. So this is all, we're looking at more delays, more dropped balls, as it were. Then we look at command and communication. This is something they were focusing on, questions around how intelligence and information was processed and then prioritized within the operation. They didn't do very well in that regard. We looked at risk awareness, evidence suggesting some officers were not fully aware of the high risk classification early on. So we heard a lot of, constables, officers saying, oh, we didn't realize it was that serious. That's why we didn't do this. That's why I didn't write any notes down. That's why I didn't look up on the wall to see if there was a CCTV camera. We weren't really aware of how important this all was. It's just a missing kid, lads. You know what I mean? Don't worry about it. Search decisions, the inquest examining whether earlier information could have influenced search areas. So there's talking about going, making the decision to go down into the storm drain and why that was delayed, and wider operational scrutiny. The overall speed and coordination of the early response now a central focus. So look, it's more drop balls, more issues around just the seriousness of what was going on and what they had on their hands. It was a missing child. I don't know if this is sort of related in a way. I don't know if you've seen, there's a TV drama available at the moment to watch, could be on Netflix, called Blue Lights. Basically, it's a drama, but it follows some new recruits within the PSNI. And I was watching it the other day. And Oscar, for your information, the PSNI came from an organization called the RUC. So the RUC are the Royal Ulster Constabulary. Okay, Royal Ulster Constabulary were seen as the police force of the Protestant population of the north of Ireland. They weren't there for the nationalists, the Catholic people. That's how they were viewed. So they were changed into this organization called the PSNI. Okay, so the PSNI came from the RUC. They're still not trusted within the nationalist community. They're still seen as a force for the Protestant community. So you've got to understand, when a child from the nationalist / Catholic area of the city goes missing, the questions have to be asked. Is it taken as seriously as it needs to be taken? It would seem not. And when I looked at this drama, and it was a sort of an example of the PSNI, it was quite well made, actually. I recommend just watching. But one of the officers of the PSNI is explaining, to this new recruit, and he's saying, look, you know, you're taking this job too seriously. We come in, we do what we can on the day, and then we walk away from it. And you can see the relation, how they view their job, and then you can see the relationship they have with the nationalist community. There's a lot of talk about we can't help those people, almost like they're other people, like we can't do anything for them, they're too, you know, we don't have any connection with them. So you're talking about the police force of a people in a country who feel like they can't really do anything to help them. So this is what is, if you look at the broader picture, this is what we're looking at when we look at the Noah Donohoe case, and subsequent seriousness, how they treated this missing child, because he was a child missing and he was from the nationalist slash Catholic community. Do you understand? So that's kind of like, you know, just to sort of, let's have that in mind. But anyway, the inquest continues, and we'll keep bringing you this, more on this as it comes. Now, off the back of our show last week, lads, we'd have to look at this as, we're going to call it a victory. We had a friend of the show, Alan Merriman, step down from his role within a company, an organization called Elkstone, which we've spoken about. Now you can look at these announcements, from the Currency. We're big fans, not of the Currency, and we look at the Sunday Business Post and our old pal Charlie Taylor reporting on this monumental and very significant event that's happened within the Irish business community, because we have to look at Elkstone, we have to look at their connection with Enterprise Ireland, who have invested heavily in Elkstone with taxpayers' money. So that's why this company are of interest to us. So they've announced this. So their announcement is that they have a new CEO. Okay, Alan Merriman is stepping down as chief executive of Elkstone, the alternative investment firm he has led since its formation in 2011. It's his vehicle, it's his show, it's his circus. Do you know what I mean? And Joe Bergen has taken over, and that's it. Look at this great news. Something big missing in this announcement, guys. I don't know if you've noticed. So we spoke about Alan Merriman with regards to Oscar. You'll be able to tell us. And what do you think is glaringly missing from this announcement, where they've just said, "Hey, we've got a new CEO, guys. Isn't this great?"
I think the main thing here that we're missing is why he's stepping down. From my understanding, that's because of his name dropping within the Epstein files. Like, that's just not mentioned there.
Yeah, and also, so what we're looking at is the media coverage of this seismic event within Irish business finance, with connections to taxpayers' money, Enterprise Ireland, and the whole reason the guy is stepping down hasn't been mentioned in the mainstream media. I mean, we call them the mainstream media, but look, the Currency is just an advertorial magazine as far as I can see. Sunday Business Post plus no better. Charlie Taylor is a man for hire. These are the facts. But Al, just your thoughts on this announcement.
Yeah, so I, again, just want to address the overarching problem here, which is we're dealing with the entire globe is trying to get its head around the chain of events that have led to the conduct of these individuals, these groups that are included in, I mentioned in the Epstein files, which is, and I'm going to say this now on the record, we're not going to refer to these guys as the elite going forward, because I think it's absolutely disgraceful that when they're reporting upon these individuals that are murderers and pedophiles, they're being referred to as the elite because they have money. They're not the elite. They're fucking murderers. Call it as it is.
They're
right?
scum, yeah.
Okay, they're scum, right? And it's the opposite of elite. And if you look up elite in the dictionary, I'm pretty sure it doesn't say, you're somebody who, traffics and kills children for fucking sport, right? So I just want to make sure that we're actually level setting, that we're not just jumping onto something and targeting Tom Lyons, Charlie Taylor, and Al Merriman. We're actually speaking about a fundamental breach of journalism here, where they have just chose to exclude a fundamental point, and a priority is to inform people of what's actually happening. Alan Merriman stepped down as the CEO of Elkstone Ventures, which is a government-backed fund that we've questioned for quite some time here, many times, that this guy did not have the best interest of the country at heart. I've had personal experience of this guy. He told me categorically in a meeting in his office, do the deal with the devil, or we're going to wipe you off the planet. And that's what he did. And that was in our company in Altara. That's a fact, right? And here we have somebody that stepped down, Charlie Taylor, Tom Lyons, The Currency, The Business Post, Irish Times, Ian Curran. Where are you guys? Shame on you. The Post should read, Chief Executive of Elkstone is the first Irish CEO to step down that is linked to the Epstein files. That's it. End of story. This isn't the good news announcement that they've just decided to reappoint, to appoint a new CEO of Elkstone in a very positive light because they're supported by the Irish Strategic Investment Fund, ISIF, backed by Enterprise Ireland, 20 million euros, guys. This is not small money, right? This is 20 million of funds from the Irish taxpayer going into a venture fund that is now linked to one of the right-hand people of Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, who is now known as public enemy number one on the global scale. What do you have on a global basis? You have Jay-Z in the firing line, the Clintons in the firing line, you have Bill Gates in the firing line, you have people, you have the chief legal officer of Goldman Sachs stepping down because she was involved in a deal, right? She was mentioned by doing a deal, which coincidentally we want to speak to today. And what's mentioned in the publications? Stepping down because they were related to the Epstein files. That's it. We're the only country that has not reported on what the actual situation is. And it's an absolute disgrace that the journalists in Ireland can fucking publish that nonsense and expect us to fucking swallow it, right? Shame on you, Charlie Taylor. You're an absolute disgrace.
Yeah. I mean, as a journalist, Oscar, it's very striking that what we're seeing here is more men covering up for bad behavior by men. If you like, the direct link is Alan Merriman in the Epstein files and Tom Lyons and Charlie Taylor not doing their due diligence and not doing their job and not reporting on the reason, and the mind boggles.
I'm honestly just not surprised because, like, when we look back at reporting that we were doing at the time of like businesses failing and coming over, the way they would spin everything is always in a positive light to reflect whoever's within this kind of circle that they've created. And I know we don't want to call it an elite circle, but that's what it is. It's the idea of these people just covering each other.
Cabal.
Yeah, and like I've said this before, but you can document like people who view themselves as elites usually have a thing where they become more obsessed with power and they make more rash decisions in order to protect their own positions. Like, there's documented studies on psychology of like how money can just mess up, like literally mentally mess you up. So I think that's just what we're seeing here is like a form of elite panic, which is again a phenomenon I urge everybody to look into. There's numerous studies on it.
And it's time for Tom Lyons, it's time for Charlie Taylor, it's time for the Sunday Business Post, it's time for the Currency to put their hands up and go, okay, we're calling a halt to this now. But they're digging their heels in here.
Keith, just pull back up that screen again if you could. Like, if you just read this, right? I mean, today we are proud to announce that Joe Bergen has been appointed Elkstone, marking an exciting new chapter for the firm. Let's just pause on that for a second, right? And I'll come back to that in a moment. And then you've got somebody in the public relations office in Elkstone thought it was a good idea then to mention Elkstone operates Ireland's largest early stage venture fund. Then they go down to say, underpinned by the support of Enterprise Ireland, the National Treasury Management Agency, right? And then they name the companies that they're involved in and invested in. So let's just pause now for a second, right?
Let me just circle that for you there, Al. Sorry.
So let's pause for a second now. So we have an agency that's linked to somebody who's had to step down that has been in receipt of money a significant amount of money, has been actively participating in deals, co-investing, and has been actively involved in other communication with Junkerman, who is one of the lead people involved in this case. And these guys think that they can just report on all of this. And where's the announcement from the CEO of Enterprise Ireland? Where's the governmental investigation? Where's somebody from the DPP reaching out? Where's the files being sent to the media to say, here's the conversations, you need to report upon this? Oh, let's just give it in balance, right? So we're sitting here now in the context of, he was an investor in our company. Let's be very clear. He was a board observer. We had created a human trafficking technology solution with AWS that was ready to be deployed in San Francisco airport at the time when we started having problems with these guys. So 1 and 1 sometimes does make 2, right? And that's it. And you've got somebody that's directly linked into this scenario. Now, I'm allegedly saying, okay, let's scrape into this and dig into this and see what happens. But let's balance the proportion of it. 122 pages of articles written about me, and my pictures on every front page by Charlie Taylor, Tom Lyons, and Ian Curran. Where's Alan Merriman's picture on this? They put in John Burgeon's picture. Where's the picture saying Alan Merriman had to step down? Here he is. Nowhere.
He's also not even stepping out of the company completely. He's just switching.
Exactly.
Position. Like, he's still on payroll. He's still getting bankrolled by public funds. Or
someone has decided, someone's PR person said, this is enough if we just do this. And also, like, thanking Enterprise Ireland. And then we look at our pal Niamh, who says she was waiting patiently for Elkstone to make this announcement, and obviously wasn't, or was disappointed, wasn't surprised, was disappointed with how it's been reported that this Charlie Taylor of the Business Post and Tom Lyons of the Currency, the headline should read, First Irish Epstein Files Resignation as Alan Merriman steps down as CEO of Elkstone. So, like, I mean, it's spot on, you know, absolutely spot on. Like, what? This is a nonsense. This is a nonsense. And it's important because, as we keep saying, Enterprise Ireland have invested heavily in Elkstone. This is taxpayers' money. We need to look at what's happening here, and we need to, and we'll get on to Alan Merriman, Junkerman, a very, very, very close, a woman who asked Epstein to put his baby in her on an email, very, very close to Epstein, is a client, it's disgusting, is a client of Alan Merriman. Alan Merriman was emailing these people about doing deals like this.
He's their wealth manager. They refer to him as the banker, right?
And we're going to get into Jobio and how she directly invested in an Irish company that went through the same fucking process of being taken down from the inside, as we've reported on here on MOTH News again and again and again and again. Oscar, you've been digging into these files. I need to take a little breather because, and believe you me, I'm not of this world. This is not my space, but I am shocked by this behavior as a citizen.
I'm also shocked, but my part for this week was, again, Ireland in the Epstein files. Coincidence or a pattern? So, like, I was looking into it again, and here's something that I found interesting. Ireland comes up over 1,000. It's like 1,000 different search results of Ireland appearing, and I was kind of expecting it to be continuously like leaked docs, etc. For the most part, kind of random stuff. One thing that really annoyed me, or made me really confused, as to why Etsy is so much so in the Epstein's files. There's like a few thousand results just for Etsy. I don't know
what's he buying. What's he buying from Etsy?
It was a Apple Watch Series 4 metallic blue.
Okay, so it wasn't like baby lotion.
No, the baby oil would have been more P. Diddy.
Yeah.
So what I did find is that in 2003, David Wasson, in 2003, a guy called David Wasson emailed Ghislaine Maxwell saying, "Are you going to send me the names and numbers of people to play with in Ireland?" So you might be asking, who is David Wassong. So he appears in the files as somebody embedded in Epstein's operational environment.
Sorry, Oscar. I'm just trying to find the right. There you go. That's him. Yeah, go on. Carry on.
So he's more so logistics, property coordination, and inner circle administration. And what's kind of worse is Maxwell then replies to him, and she references Eddie Irvine. I'm not a sports guy, but Google tells me this guy has something to do with FIFA. And she also mentions a woman in the exchange.
Eddie Irvine.
Yeah, Eddie Irvine.
Oh, Formula One. Oscar.
Formula One.
See, my bad.
One of our most famous Formula One drivers ever produced by this country. And I remember Eddie being around. I used to run a bar called the Bailey in the city centre in Dublin, and he was around. He was a party guy, you know.
Yeah, he was a party guy, but I think now we have to question if he was partying with the right people. But again,
so what we're seeing is Wong. What's Wong? I'll tell you what's wrong. David Wassong. He's emailing Maxwell. He's saying, "Do you have any people to play with?" Absolutely vomit-inducing sentence to play with in Ireland. So he's going to be in Ireland doing business. She's replying, check in with Eddie Irvine.
Yeah, exactly. And again, another woman who I'm going to choose not to name because I believe she may be a victim. I can't find any mention of her online. I can only just find her name in like one file where again, this is something annoying with the Epstein files. They'll release the same thing like 4 or 5 times. And then in one version, it's fully redacted. And then if you just keep digging, you can find a completely unredacted version. Don't know what that's about. I just want to be clear that this doesn't prove criminal conduct, but it does kind of make you question what play with meant. And again, this is in 2003, so this is before any high-profile cases. But it's still kind of worrying. So, Al, when you're seeing somebody inside this infrastructure speaking that way and we're treating it as normal, what does that tell you about how the network was kind of evolving and how it was insulated at that time?
Yeah, see, this is the frustrating part, and again, this is where going back to the mainstream media because they deserve a good hammering, right? Is you've got the asterisks at the end. Association or mention in the files is not any link or admittance or proof of wrongdoing, right? Okay, and that is a load of bullshit. And as you said, I'm not disputing, Oscar. There's some people are in the crosshairs. They're probably victims, right? Okay, but sometimes the victims then become the offenders as well in these networks. As you said, they bring them in, and it kind of turns into an ecosystem of everybody's got something on each other. And clearly in this instance, it got worse and worse and worse, right? Over time, and they got more and more aggressive in what they were doing, right? And how far back is this dating? Who knows? But I think that's going to probably come out over time. But I think in reality, there is a saying that evil can only exist if good men stand back and do nothing, right? So if we were to take this on a balanced view and say, let's look at Alan Merriman. Okay, he might argue the point. There was nothing untoward at that time. Yes, okay, let's take that in balance and look at it objectively. But, however, when this started unfolding, did he come forward and make a disclosure? Did he come forward and say, I think there was something wrong here? Has he got an obligation to do diligence on who he isn't taking money from and funds from? Yes, he has. He's got anti-money laundering, KYC. He's got all sorts of regulation that he needs to adhere to as somebody who's in receipt of people's money. He's a regulated fund. There's a responsibility on him to ensure that he's not anywhere linked in any shape or form to this type of behavior. That's a fact. Now, if we took it on an extremity, we're not just dealing with white-collar crime here. We're dealing with people. We're dealing with murder. We're dealing with paedophile, human trafficking. It's probably the worst heinous acts that you could even begin to imagine, right? And in that context, the media should be all over this thing aggressively to understand exactly who's involved in this and why. And why did they do nothing to stop it?
And why are we as a country being so? Why aren't we calling this out and stamp and going, not in this country? Do you know what I mean? Like, why are we being so lily-livered about this? Why are we so Why are we kowtowing to, like, we're a country who talk about 800 years of oppression. Are we now just oppressing ourselves? Are we?
And
Are we just
yeah,
doing? Is it Stockholm syndrome? We're just doing what the Brits did to us ourselves. So we don't have the ability to speak up. That we have to tug the forelock to our overlords. Is that what's happening? It's astonishing.
I just don't know. The reporting just isn't linear in terms of like what's coming out. Like if you look at other countries, I think Poland's setting up like some kind of task force to go after elites mentioned.
Yeah.
And then this isn't even like whitewashing. This would be like, oh, by the way, this guy did this. This is just complete like no.
But Oscar, it's not only that. The Irish Times reported on Goldman Sachs chief legal officer had to step down. They reported on it, went into detail in it because she was linked to a deal, which again is actually in this paradox that we're speaking of. Alan Merriman's actually mentioned involved in that deal, which was again a company that's involved in emergency notifications, right? Which we'll get into in a moment, right? But the reality is they are reporting when they choose to, right? But clearly in this instance, and we'll call it here, right? Alan Merriman is one of their own. They protect one of their own. And that's it. So they should be stepping down as well. Tom Lyne should step down. Charlie Taylor should step down. Because they're disgraceful. That's it. So if you're harboring somebody who's been involved in heinous crimes, you're guilty by association. You should then be accountable as well. Whoever is involved in signing off Alan Merriman's deals in Enterprise Ireland are now in question. They should be under pressure. Until people start feeling pressure, like somebody and I know we've had quite a few people reach out to me directly. I'm not sure if you guys have had also, but a few people have reached out to me and have also expressed their deep concern. And I know a few of them have taken their time from their day, their busy lives and all that good stuff, right? To write to the editor of the Business Post, and they have written to the Ombudsman also at their dismay relating to the lack of reporting by Charlie Taylor in proportion to how he's reported previously. Mm-hmm. And that is a fact.
Yeah. He should be all over this.
Just I think it's a good dovetail, Oscar, if you went to Jobio, because I think that even opens up further again the relationships that these guys have, where it's not just prior to this the reporting, right? They also pick and choose what companies they're going to report on as well, in terms of if a company gets into distress, there's a silence if the deal is done. And this is a very fundamental example, right?
Yeah, let's look at the structure behind the Jobio story, and I'll let you get back to your stuff, Oscar, in a little while, because it's all related, it all ties up, but it is a good jumping off point. So if we look at this, and I've just put this together so you can have a look at it as I talk you through it. So this is how it all links up. This is why it's important. This is why people need to step down, step aside, and investigations need to happen like they're doing in Poland. We need to investigate these people. So you can see there the Irish taxpayer on the top, right? This is our money. This is our money that's been spent here. Enterprise Ireland supported Jobio, right, directly as a high potential startup. It also invested 20 million of taxpayer money into Elkstone's venture fund, right? Elkstone, we've spoken about, Alan Merriman's company, basically. That fund then invested in Jobio, right? One of Jobio's other investors is NJF Capital, run by our pal, Nicole Junkerman. Nicole Junkerman, who asked Jeffrey Epstein in an email, among other things, to put a baby in her, whose separate investment activities have appeared in the recent Epstein-related document releases. There's no allegation of wrongdoing against Jobio itself, but what we're looking at is the same thing happening here, right? The same players, the same people involved, except now it's linked to the fucking Epstein files. We were talking about this anyway, before we knew these people were going to be involved in stuff with Jeffrey Epstein.
Let's unpack this slightly, right? So we've got, it's not just Jobio. So Jobio is a platform. And by the way, this is not hypothetical. It's a known fact now that these groups, these monsters were using online recruitment platforms to target vulnerable people who applied for the jobs, and then they were trafficked. That's a fact. That's not an allegation, that's a fact. I'm not saying that Jobio has been proved to have that connection, but I'm just saying 1 and 1 equals whatever, right? 1 and 1 equals 2. She's in there, she's linked to that, money's been used. So but however, the anomaly relating to this case is 30 plus million losses, 15 million in creditors, went into a scarp. Our friend Kirby Healy, John Healy, was the insolvency practitioner, the same liquidator that went into Altada with Elkstone, by the way, with Alan Merriman, right? He was his first and only bid that he was going to recognize. So this is not a coincidence, okay? Was there any creditor reports leaked to the media? No. Was there any front page articles written about the Jobio founders? No. Was anybody writing about the losses of the Enterprise Ireland investment? No. They just came out the other side, rebranded, and moved on. Where is the actual reporting and balance in relation to these processes that are being used to corporate rail companies? But if the deal is done to suit Elkstone and Alan Merriman and his band of merry warriors, right? There's absolute omerta and silence in the mainstream media. That is a fact. And by the way, categorically, that's close to 3 times the losses in Altada, and we had 122 articles written about us. And every creditor report that was submitted by John Healy was leaked. And he leaked to the press that he was writing to the CEA in relation to allegations. And I can tell you categorically today, I've received a letter from John Healy to say that he hasn't even submitted the CEA report yet. Right?
So we've been talking about this happening. We've been talking about these companies investing in these startups and then taking them down from within and taking the tech and all this kind of stuff. And we've been talking about how the media has been biased towards reporting these, these takeovers and these buyouts and these all this, as positive, and showing people like John Healy in a positive light, and showing people like Alan Merriman, Elkstone as these these great men that are coming. It is. Watch The Simpsons. Watch the monorail episode of The Simpsons. You got Alan Merriman there in a stripy jacket singing monorail and trying to sell a monorail to the town, and they've all been whitewashed by the media, blindsided by the media. So but now we're talking about, hang on a second, this guy is bringing in this Nicole Junkerman, one of his clients. She's very, very close to Jeff Epstein. This is a whole other. This is. I thought this was bad.
She's also close to Epstein, like throughout his entire lifespan, of like from him being like pre-conviction to during conviction to post-conviction. Like she knew what was going on. I want to make that very clear. She knew. Like, she may not have been directly involved, may not, but she knew exactly what he was doing, and she was invited into this network, into the controlling aspects. And you do have to wonder if she was investing in with Jobio under her own advisement, or possibly Epstein's, because she was invited to like control the most powerful people. So
that was a sentence used.
Yeah, exactly.
To
control some of the most powerful people. So it may not.
I was going. That's a very important point for people that are listening or watching. Right? It's that you're not like embellishing. You're actually paraphrasing the context. That was her role, right?
Yeah, to help control the most powerful people. Spelt wrong.
It's there. It's in black and white, badly spelt by the worst speller in the world, Jeffrey Epstein.
It's probably some kind of encrypted code. You wouldn't know these guys. Yeah.
The thing about they spell people incorrectly. You know what I mean? But once again, if we look at Tom Lyons, for instance, and the currency, not why aren't you reporting on the fact that this is? Why aren't you mentioning Junkerman? You've mentioned her before in articles. You've mentioned her before. The Irish Times have mentioned her name in relation to Alan Merriman in their own articles.
Keith, also just go back to the workflow, the flow chart you pulled up, right? It's not a singular engagement either, right?
Sorry, hang on. Sorry.
There's another project again that's involved in emergency services where it's linked to vulnerable people, right?
Mm.
Carbine.
Carbine. Yeah.
Again, very unusual situation, right? Funding came in, ex-Prime Minister of Israel went in, Adam Merriman in those email threads, right? Went through a process, rebranded out the other side, directly linked to Epstein, right? And I believe that this is the company, this deal was the one that brought down, or maybe one of the deals that brought down the chief legal officer of Goldman, right? Okay. And by the way, if you watch their reporting, maybe we'll cover it next week, that was handled efficiently, sophisticated, and elegantly. They called her out, said why, she lost her job. There was a statement made. They released it to the press office. There was no hiding behind it. There was no cover up. It was straight out in the open. She is resigning because she's linked here. Done. That's a fact. Categorically. No bullshit. We're not reflecting. There wasn't an announcement to say we're recruiting a very exciting new chief legal
We've
officer.
replaced this person.
I wonder why.
But Tom Lyons in the Currency, why isn't he reporting on this? Why isn't he saying what's happening? And you have to ask yourself the question: Is it because of the investment of Elkstone in the Currency through their, taking an advertisement? He's worked with them, I believe, Al.
Well. Why don't we ask a question and welcome Tom to come on, and Charlie Taylor. And Charlie, tell us how much Elkstone has paid the Business Post for advertising. How much have they paid the Currency, Tom Lyons, for advertising? Who is the owner? That's a privately owned advertorial, right? It's at this stage it's a paid rag.
You
right?
get more information from
he's done multiple
more information from the Athlone Observer, which is like mostly ads, and the odd article about
the Whispers there. Well, actually, I wrote the Waterford Whispers, to be honest. But I think and look, I'm maybe look, Oscar. This is task number 2 for you next week, dude. Right? Is how many events did Tom Lyons moderate for Elkstone? Appeared with them, where they co-sponsored? Was any of that funding linked directly back to Junkerman? Right? I was kind of Junkerman earlier. Sorry, Keith, to give the correct pronunciation. Right? It's not, for English isn't my first language. I do apologize. Right? So, so how many events have they worked at? A lot. How much has Elkstone paid the Currency in the last 12 months, 24 months, 36 months? Right? Okay.
Yep.
That's a fact. Like these are the facts. Like there has to be accountability here, right? And then how is it a company can fail even more in significance than any of the other companies they reported on? And we even saw the same with Synoptica, right? Brendan Rice and team, they got covered all over the papers. They were a fraction of those losses, right? That company that's managing 911 crisis calls, he's heavily involved in that. Like, when are we going to start waking up to the reality of these people are strategically investing in companies or taking down companies that directly impact their operation? That's it. If we were in a spy movie, and we were like, I don't know if you've seen like a very good movie is The Accountant 2. I don't know if you've ever seen that with Ben Affleck. So he's like he's putting up the pictures, and then he's looking at the pictures. She can't get it. He's like, bang, 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 bang. So if we did that virtually and put up all the pictures and say, here's the companies, advertisements for vulnerable people that applied, how many people went missing? Like we investigated how many people went missing from that, right? 911 calls, very suspect. There's been a lot of people highlighting that in the States at the moment, right? How is it that vulnerable children have gone missing in the system, right? Where's the back doors in terms of data, right? Like sometimes when you follow the data, and even though it feels unbelievable to comprehend, which I think, look, I don't know, this is having a huge impact on me as a father, as a husband, as a person, right? Like, the more and more we read about this, there's victims behind here that can't even speak up anymore because they're murdered, right? And like we're sitting here and we're trying to comprehend it, and here we are, like all we're asking for is ethical accountability from people that were involved in some shape or form and linked to it financially, and ethical and moral ground from our fucking journalist. Is that too much to ask from these
Just be
guys?
impartial. Be what a journalist is supposed to be.
Just report the news.
Yeah.
But then we have to say the Sunday Business Post and the Currency are not newspapers.
They're private.
Agreed. They're advertisements.
That's Cork. That's Cork
Puppets.
for advertisement, by the way.
I think Charlie Taylor will be known as Bosco from here forth. So I think he's just like puppet on the string, and I think Tom Lyons is fucking probably, I don't know, some kind of iteration of.
A Muppet.
I was going to say Oscar. Do you remember Oscar
the Grouch?
The guy in the trash can.
Oh, yeah.
The guy in the trash can.
You guys have a lot in common, Oscar.
Well, with cookies, yeah.
He looks like him. He looks like him, actually. No, we like the cook. We like the cookie monster. We like the.
What else have you got for us, Oscar? Is there anything we haven't covered?
I found what's his face's passport. Not yet. Richard Branson's passport was in the Epstein files as well. That was kind of interesting.
Of interest, yeah.
And then
not saying Richard Branson did anything wrong. It's just weird. His passport was there in the files. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. And then in 2015, we had another island mentioned, this time in a business context. So emails involving Ehud, I'm going to pronounce this bad, but Ehud Barak was referenced again for Alan Merriman. Again, so I'm not accusing him of anything here, but he is mentioned again. Yeah. He's mentioned like due to routing issues for a financial purchase. So like my question to you, Al, would be like, how is Ireland such a major hub for international fund vehicles and custody structures? Like, why is so much money being routed through Ireland? It's like a 6.3 million euro purchase, I think. No, sorry, 6.1.
Because Ireland is a playground for fucking doing whatever the fuck you want financially. No one's going to fucking say.
Because there's no accountability.
And then another one that I found, like another name drop, was Sean Woodward was also mentioned. He was casually in like 2008, Ghislaine Maxwell was suggesting to bring Sean Woodward along to dinner with Jeffrey Epstein.
Sean Woodward being the Northern Irish politician, is that?
Yeah, former UK Secretary of State for Northern Ireland.
That's it. Yeah, good.
Yeah, so that's
and the email was basically, do you want to meet the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland? He can go to dinner with them.
Yeah, again, so it's interesting that we need to be asking the question of we need to be asking Sean Woodward, did you attend this dinner? What was discussed at this dinner? Because again, this is post 2006, so we know for a fact that like anybody associating with Epstein would have known that he at this stage was a convicted sex offender.
Yeah.
But Oscar, another thing that's not been raised, and again, this is we can't fall into this trap where these guys distract us from the data that's very concerning, which is there is well over 3,000 children that have gone missing under care from Tulsa, right? Okay. There has been lots of grey areas around women that have said they've been trafficked in and out of Ireland. They have tried to call out the monsters. I'm not going to give them the name, the E word anymore, right? We know who we're talking about. And then if you drill down into that from a categoric perspective, right? This data has been communicated in many different rooms, but nobody's ever connected it back to, okay, Ireland is linked directly into one of the largest sex rings on the planet. That's it. Like, that's the real crux of what we're actually talking about. We've now proof that Ireland, and back to your point, Keith, they think they can do whatever the fuck they want in the country because there's no accountability. There's no media. There's nobody from a political landscape is going to call these guys out. Nobody on the legal standpoint is going to go after them. Where's the legal firms that are saying, right, okay, this is our country. Why has this been tolerated? Whereas the people within the government, the Enterprise Ireland and the other outfits that are saying, this is unacceptable behaviour. We trusted you as somebody who's to do X, Y, and Z, right? That's the crux of this problem.
There's just no accountability anywhere, and there's nobody chasing stuff up. And like, I don't want to bring it immediately back to Noah Donohoe, but it's kind of the same thing of like the police aren't doing their jobs. Like nobody's stepping up and doing what they need to do in order to get convictions and to protect people. Sorry, to protect people. Like it's just not happening.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to what we spoke about before of leaving a vacuum. People aren't, you know, you look at the questions over, IPAS centers, immigration, all those, like, the marches, all that kind of stuff. It's, it's all, people are having to say, and it's all, whatever. But because there's no accountability, the government aren't coming out and making decisions. They're not doing anything really, because it helps them. The circus helps them to do whatever they're doing, without too much, interrogation. And like anywhere, we look at this
Keith,
country, yeah.
This is not a very important point. I want to interject in this. This is on my, because I'm cognizant we're finishing off, on my notes before I joined. Another thing that's not been spoken about is Alan Merriman is directly linked to IPAS centres in the country. He's directly linked to Jeff Leo, another known offender, of being involved in setting up centres that are involved with taking care of vulnerable people, vulnerable children, vulnerable women. So, like, when you put it all together, how is that a coincidence? Are we to believe that this is just another conspiracy theory? You show me your conspiracy theory, and I'll start calling you a coincidence theorist, right? That's the reality. These guys are involved in companies that are either gathering data, managing, facilitating the care and duty of care to vulnerable people, which has now been categorically stated is the target of these monsters. That is the fact.
And then we have to look at if Alan Merriman is involved in the creation of our IPAS millionaires, and Oscar, you said it before, this should be a not-for-profit. Housing immigrants should be a not-for-profit situation. Do you know what I mean? People should not be.
Your ethical duty to help people. Like if you have the means and they're fleeing conflict, you should be there helping them, not profiting off them.
Yeah. So why is there no statement from that department, from the government, to say, look, this person is mentioned in the Epstein files and has been in receipt of money for IPAS centers, or what's happening here? What are we doing? Why do we fear these people so much? Why are we interested in giving millions to people through IPAS centers? Why are we doing that? We're literally handing money to fucking dickheads for just being dickhead. Like I'm not from this world. I'm coming into this. I'm looking at this and I'm going, my brain is broken trying to comprehend. There's something weird going on. Why are we giving money to people?
I don't know.
What's the fear? What have they got on us? What have they got on the? It just like, if we're talking about conspiracy theories, I tell you, there's a whole vacuum, whole space there for anybody to fill in whatever nonsense they want, and for it to be fucking believable. Because at this stage, I'm just like, what have these people got on us?
Why aren't we holding like our journalists to account? Why aren't we going out and speaking out and using the fourth wall to like actually speak about the issues that are currently going on? Why is everything?
Well, we are.
Like, I just don't understand either.
Yeah. So, I mean, what can we say? We've drawn the lines. We've shown you the part, like where we've dotted, followed the fucking breadcrumbs. We've shown you the connection. We're asking the business post, the currency, come on, explain yourselves. Charlie Taylor, Lyons, come on here and explain yourself. Merriman, tell us what's going on. Why? It's all a big misunderstanding. It's all a big mistake. Explain to us what's happening. Elkstone, explain to us what's happening. Come on here. We're trying to join the dots. We're trying to show people what's actually happening. Enterprise Ireland, Oscar, are you still waiting for the latest update from them in your freedom of information search?
I've had my the one that I gave, where there's the document. That's like the last thing I heard from them.
Yeah.
So
we are actively looking for Enterprise Ireland to tell us what's happening, and they have been telling us, because they told us how much money they've invested in Elkstone. Oscar brought it to us. Congratulations, Oscar. We can look at it here. Here you go. Go halfway down the page. Go a little bit further down. 3/4 of the way down the page. 20 million. Elkstone.
20 million of taxpayers' money is belonging to a company that was most recently funded by a guy named in the Epstein files. Nobody's really saying that. No.
And we are looking for. We're not operating in a vacuum. We're actively. Oscar's our journalist. He's actively looking for information. We're willing to speak to anybody. We want to fill in. We want to join the dots. We want to fill in the gaps. Please help us. Anybody. It's confusing, Oscar. Am I right?
It's very confusing. I just don't understand why people now, if they're not if they're involved, but like from a journalist point of view, like Tom Lyons, Charlie Taylor should be writing, oh, by the way, this guy's stepping down, because his name dropped. It's not like that's hard to find. There's so many people that are name dropped within the Epstein files in Ireland, like that people just choose to not mention. Like you see them stepping down from posts, you see them resigning, and it's just a PR op. That's it.
Here's a question, guys. If we're doing this, do you think that the Sunday Business Post, the Currency, mainstream media, the Irish Times, whoever, do you think they're looking at this and going, people just got to look at these guys and think, fucking tinfoil hats, loopy-loos, just conspiracy theorists? Do you think that the country would look at what we're saying here and take it with a pinch of salt? And are they relying on that? Because it seems like they've got the necks of jockeys, lads. Like a jockey's bollocks, I think it's an Irish phrase. The neck of a jockey's bollocks, a hard neck. To think that they're going to get away with this.
Yeah. They definitely think the people are stupid. Like people are intelligent as individuals, but they're banking on the herd mentality that they won't step in against these guys because they're the incumbent media. That's it. You're definitely right, Keith. Like they're looking at the Ditch, MOTH News, the Gript. They're looking at they're just conspiracy theorists, fucking not proper journalists.
Because it's not in the Irish Independent, it's not in the Times,
it's not in the RT.
Paper of record, which is they've long since not been the paper of record. And it's not an RT. Yeah. So I mean, and that's the problem, Oscar, isn't it? Like this is something we're dealing with, is the general public believing that what we're talking about is
I think there is like a proven issue with long-standing media organizations. Like if you just treat them at face value as the best, you're never gonna truly know what's going on in the world, because they usually have stakeholders who are in control and who pay editors tell you what you can or cannot write based on who's investing in your business via advertisements. If you look at the BBC, for example, they're publicly owned, and yet they're one of the largest, the company, the news organization with the most recent scandals in every aspect. We can't solely trust mainstream news organizations anymore. You can't trust one news outlet anymore. If you're trying to find data out there, if you're trying to find the truth as you see it, you need to be looking at least 5 different sources. It could be TikTok, Instagram, whatever, just independent researchers, larger organizations, different points of view. Because if you only look at the Sunday Business Post and you only look at whatever Charlie Taylor does, the Business Times, whatever, you're never going to get the full picture, and you're never going to understand why CEOs are stepping down.
Al, good point. Al, do you think we can bring these people down?
Yeah. I think, guys, fair play to you guys. Sometimes you just have to say it. I think you did a fantastic job last week highlighting the facts, the key points, and even if they won't admit it, I think a combination of ourselves and the other people that actually will tell the truth is having an effect on these guys. And I'm saying that categorically. We've received many messages in relation to Jeff Leo and all of the highlighting the other stuff that he was up to. Well, we've helped Dallo in the past in terms of his, raising awareness in his case. Noah, as you know, somebody from linked to Noah's case reached out to us. So, we keep doing what we're doing, right? And I definitely think it's having a bearing on him. And look, it's going to take time. It's not going to be a quick win for us because people don't want to believe it either, right? In some way, they want to kind of live in a cocoon of everything should be okay, and ostrich theory or Stockholm syndrome, as you mentioned, Keith. Who knows, right? But if one person is impacted by this in a positive way and realizes, and that there's an awareness or an awakening where once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's kind of like the Matrix where Morpheus is giving you the red pill or the blue pill, right?
Yeah, suddenly you're seeing, you buy a red car, so you're seeing red cars everywhere. The thing that I'm interested in seeing, and I believe will work, is that we know what the scum are like. As soon as one of them thinks that someone's coming for them, that they're about to be found out, they'll start throwing each other under the bus. That's where you'll see it, because these guys will turn on each other as quickly as you can say, what the fuck is going on?
Well, what would you describe if we were in a contained schoolyard? What would you call somebody that picks on the most vulnerable of the yard and decides to hurt them? They're just cowards, right?
Yeah, they're bullies and cowards. Yeah. And they do the same to each other. Yeah. As soon as their own cash empire it starts being threatened and they feel vulnerable, they'll start turning on each other.
They already have. That's why the files are getting out. There's somebody somewhere has access to that information, is getting it out there
because these files would not get out unless somebody very powerful wanted them out.
So 3 million of them is so hard to analyze.
Oscar, get back to work. Get back to those files. Oscar's basically holed up in a shed.
No time for snowflakes here, Oscar. We got stuff to do, man. Batman never complained about all the stuff he had to do.
Get back to the files.
I wonder what keyword I'll be searching next week.
It's traffic journalists for news platforms.
Yeah.
We have an AI to actually draw us. Let's create an AI tool to get through all those docs.
If you could, I would really appreciate it. Because,
I'm up for that. Yeah, let's do it.
Now you're speaking his language.
PDF analyzing, and then
let's do it. We can do that. That's our core business out somewhere else. So let's do that. I'll meet you on Monday. We'll do that. Yeah.
His girlfriend doesn't recognize him anymore. He hasn't had time to get his hair permed. Come on.
No, that's because the restroom is broken. Okay, guys, keep it classy. Okay, have a good weekend. Well done. Thank you so much.
That's it from us on Moth News. Thanks for joining. If you have any news that you want us to get out there, if you don't have a platform and you need a platform and nobody's listening to you, we just might be the ones that will listen to you. Oh, look, there's a dartboard there. My background has been... It looks so nice here, just this bit. All right, take care. Have a good day.